Dogs obey or starve? You want your son to live? Get on your knees and sign. The break room was empty at 3 a.m., except for a black security guard and the woman who was hurting him. His legs gave way. He fell to his knees, his hands shaking. She stood over him, watching him break with a smile that could freeze blood. He signed. Tears hit the contract. She grabbed his dinner and hurled it into the trash, his only meal gone. That's what worthless looks like. Now crawl back to work. Her heels clicked away, leaving him shattered. But hidden in the shadows stood a man in a cheap uniform, a new night receptionist nobody noticed. What he was about to discover would bring him to his knees, too, not from cruelty, from a truth so devastating he'd been blind to it. When you witness what power does in the dark, it doesn't just break you, it sets you on fire. The email arrived at 11:43 at night on a Tuesday in October. Adrian Thompson sat alone in his corner office 15 floors above the city, staring at 6 words burning into his screen. "They're killing us at night. Please help." No signature or name attached. Just those 6 words and one desperate line. Check the night shift operations before it's too late. At 41, Adrian had built Grandview Plaza Hotel from absolutely nothing. Started as a porter 20 years ago, worked every position, clawed his way up until he owned 12 properties across 3 states. He had sworn he would be different from every other owner, sworn he would never forget what it felt like to be treated like invisible furniture. So why was someone desperately begging him for help? Adrian pulled up the human resources dashboard and filtered for night shift data. The number hit him hard, 65% turnover rate over 18 months. He clicked to day shift for comparison, 11% turnover, industry standard, normal. But night shift workers were vanishing like smoke. He opened exit interview files. Page after page showed identical phrases. Personal reasons for leaving. Found other opportunities. Pursuing different career path. Every interview read like someone handed them a script. Adrian's jaw clenched. 20 years ago, he wrote those exact words in his own exit interview. Personal reasons was code for "my manager destroys me, but I'm too terrified to say it." The photograph on his desk showed Adrian at 22 wearing a porter uniform 2 sizes too large, desperate for anyone to see him as human. He picked up the frame and traced its edge. "I remember what it feels like to be invisible," he whispered into darkness. His phone buzzed. Text from Diane Crawford, Night Operations Director. "Fourth quarter numbers incredible. Night shift efficiency up 43%. Cost savings exceeding projections, crushing every target." Adrian stared at those words. Efficiency up 43%, turnover up 65%. Those facts couldn't coexist in a healthy workplace. They were contradictions screaming at each other. You don't get efficiency gains while hemorrhaging employees, not unless you're crushing whoever stays so hard they can't breathe. He pulled up Diane's performance reviews, every one glowing. Innovative cost management. Consistently exceeds targets. Outstanding leadership model. But if Diane was such an excellent leader, why were people running for exits? Adrian walked to the windows and looked down 15 stories. From up here, everything looked perfect, clean, orderly, right. But what was happening at 3 in the morning when nobody with power watched? That anonymous email kept echoing. Not treating badly or being unfair, the word was killing. Someone risked their livelihood sending that message, and Adrian had almost deleted it as spam. He made his decision. He couldn't send human resources to investigate. They'd announce themselves and everyone would perform perfectly. He couldn't hire consultants. Same problem. No. If Adrian wanted truth, raw and unfiltered, he needed to see it himself. He needed to become invisible again. 2 days later, Adrian stood in a staff bathroom staring at a stranger in the mirror. Buzz cut instead of his fade. Thick black glasses, wrinkled Walmart shirt, cheap watch, scuffed shoes. He looked exactly like what he used to be. Nobody. Rita, the night trainer, smiled when he arrived at 10:30. 60 years old, kind eyes, trembling hands. "You've done front desk before?" "Long time ago," Adrian said, voice lighter and younger. "Hoping to get back into it?" Rita nodded, but something flickered across her face. Relief mixed with fear, like she'd been waiting for someone to finally pay attention. "Night shift is quiet," she said carefully. "Mostly check-ins before midnight. After that, it's just you and security." "How many security?" "Usually just Vernon." Her hand shook, handing him the radio. He's good people. Been here 6 years. Does whatever needs doing. Whatever needs doing. That phrase hung between them. Vernon handles a lot. Rita's smile crumbled. He manages. He always manages. She left quickly, like she'd said too much. Adrian stood alone in the lobby. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers. Everything gleamed, like nothing bad could happen here. At 10:58, the doors opened. A man in security uniform walked in. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving with military precision. Name tag, Vernon Hayes. Adrian watched him check the perimeter like 10,000 repetitions. Test locks, scan parking lot, radio in, professional, capable, exhausted underneath. Then Vernon pulled out a small blue notebook with worn edges, made a notation, tucked it away. Adrian couldn't see what he wrote. Didn't know Vernon had been writing for 1,089 nights straight. Didn't know each entry was evidence nobody bothered to see. Didn't know in 72 hours he'd read words that would drop him to his knees. For now, he just smiled and waved. Hey, new night receptionist. Vernon's smile was immediate and professional. Vernon Hayes, welcome aboard. They shook hands across the desk. Adrian felt calluses, strength, exhaustion buried underneath. This man has no idea who I am, Adrian thought. He was right. But Vernon Hayes knew exactly what Adrian Thompson was about to become, a witness. And witnesses can't unsee truth, even when it shatters them. 11:20 p.m. A Mercedes pulled up to the valet station. Through the glass doors, Adrian watched Vernon jog outside, no valet on duty, and greet the guests with a smile that looked carved from years of practice. An older couple, designer luggage, the kind who'd tip well if you were invisible enough. Vernon loaded 8 bags onto a cart, heavy ones. Adrian saw the strain in his shoulders as he maneuvered them through the entrance. Good evening, Adrian called from the desk, playing his role. Welcome to Grandview Plaza. While the couple checked in, Vernon disappeared with their luggage. 6 minutes later, he returned, breathing harder. Sweat darkened his uniform shirt. Before he could rest, the radio crackled. A woman's voice, sharp as broken glass. Vernon, parking lot, car alarm section C, handle it. Vernon's hand moved to the radio. Copy that, Miss Crawford. Diane Crawford, Adrian's night operations director, the one who'd texted about efficiency gains. Vernon headed back outside. Adrian watched through windows as Vernon spent 10 minutes locating a BMW with a malfunctioning alarm, contacted the owner, waited, explained with patience that suggested he'd done this 100 times. 11:52 p.m. Vernon returned. Radio crackled again. Vernon, loading dock. Delivery wasn't secured properly. Vernon's jaw tightened for 1 second before smoothing back to professional neutrality. On my way. Adrian checked the schedule Rita had shown him. No overnight maintenance, no porter, no bellhop. Just Vernon, apparently doing the work of 4 people. 12:15 a.m. Vernon came through the lobby and Adrian caught the limp. Slight, controlled, but there. Hey man, you okay? Vernon's smile never wavered. All good. Old injury acting up. You settling in all right? Yeah, quiet night so far. Give it time. Vernon pulled out that blue notebook, made another notation. This time, Adrian glimpsed times, tasks, what looked like a checklist. Before Adrian could ask, Vernon's radio erupted. Vernon, conference room B. Thermostat's broken. Guests complaining. Vernon closed the notebook, clipped the radio. Never stops. His tone wasn't complaining, just stating fact, like mentioning weather. Adrian watched him head toward conference rooms. On impulse. You need help? Vernon stopped, turned. For one moment, something cracked in that professional mask. Surprise, maybe gratitude, quickly buried. Appreciate it, but you're good here. This isn't your job. Seems like it's not yours either. Vernon's smile turned sad. It is now. 1:03 a.m. Vernon entered the break room for what Adrian assumed was his break. Through the small window, Adrian saw him open a battered container. Inside, white rice and boiled vegetables. No protein, no variety. Vernon ate standing, checking his phone between bites. His break lasted 7 minutes. Then the radio. Vernon, front entrance. Guests locked out of their car. Vernon closed the container, wrapped the remaining food carefully, stored it in the fridge. Half a meal saved. Not for later. For someone at home who needed it more. 1:30 a.m. A well-dressed woman entered through the staff entrance. Diane Crawford. Adrian recognized her from management meetings, always polished, always presenting perfect numbers. She spotted Vernon refilling the lobby coffee station. "Vernon!" Her voice carried that particular edge of authority demanding immediate attention. Vernon straightened. "Yes, Miss Crawford? The schedule shows you started at 11. It's been 2.5 hours." She consulted her tablet. "Security round, valet service, maintenance call, guest assistance. You're averaging one task every 20 minutes. "Yes, ma'am. That's below our efficiency standard. 22 minutes per task is target. I need you moving faster." Adrian's hands froze on the keyboard. Below standard? Vernon had been sprinting between 4 different jobs, doing the work of an entire department, and she was criticizing his speed? Vernon's voice stayed level. "I'll work on that, Miss Crawford. See that you do. And Vernon?" She paused at the elevator. "Remember, you're fortunate to have this position. Many people would love your job security." The elevator doors closed. Vernon stood there completely still. Then he reached into his pocket, pulled out a pill bottle, dry swallowed 2 tablets, and returned to his rounds. Adrian gripped the desk edge. This wasn't management. This was systematic cruelty dressed as efficiency. But the worst part came 15 minutes later. Adrian needed supplies from the storage room near Diane's office. As he approached, he heard her voice through the door, on the phone, casual, cold. "Cut another security guard next month. Vernon can handle it alone. He won't quit. He needs the insurance too much. His son's sick. Makes him easy to control." A pause. Then Diane laughed. "Desperate people make the best employees. They'll do anything to keep their benefits." Adrian stood frozen in the hallway, ice flooding his veins. She knew. Diane knew about Vernon's son, knew he was trapped, and she was weaponizing that desperation for profit. This wasn't accidental exploitation. This was calculated, systematic, evil. Adrian walked back to the desk, hands shaking with rage he couldn't show. Vernon passed by on another task, that same professional smile in place, and Adrian realized Vernon had been living in this hell for how long? Weeks, months, years? This ends now, Adrian thought. Whatever it takes. This ends now. 2:18 a.m. The lobby was empty except for Adrian and the HVAC hum. Vernon passed by checking locks. Adrian made his move. "Hey, Vernon, quick question?" Vernon paused. Up close, exhaustion carved lines around his eyes, the kind from months, maybe years of sleep deprivation. "What's up? How long you been doing this? Working nights?" Something shifted. Caution, not suspicion. 6 years. Started as just security. Then they needed help with other things. They ask or tell? Vernon's laugh was empty. "Does it matter? It's the job now." Adrian leaned against the desk, casual. "I've worked hotels. Never seen security doing valet, maintenance, porter work all at once. Used to have 4 security guards, 2 valets, maintenance team." Vernon's voice was flat, reciting facts. "Budget cuts, operational efficiency. Now it's me and whoever they spare. Just you tonight. Most nights." Vernon glanced where Diane had disappeared. Voice lowered. "Look, you seem good. Free advice. Do your job, clock out, don't ask questions. Easier that way." "Easier for who?" Vernon met his eyes. Resigned wisdom from hard lessons. "For everyone. Trust me." Vernon's radio crackled. He left. 3 a.m. Adrian waited until Vernon was on the 5th floor, then slipped into the break room. Small space, harsh lights, bulletin board covered in schedules. Security schedule. Night shift, 2022. 4 guards, 40 hours week 2023. 3 guards, 40 hours week 2024. 2 guards, 40 hours week. Only one name appeared consistently now. Vernon Hayes. Adrian photographed it. Then spotted a printed email, 6 months old, hidden behind notices. "To all night staff, cross-training mandatory. Security assists with guest services, maintenance, valet, not optional. Refusal = insubordination. Signed, Diane Crawford. Not a request. A threat buried in corporate speak." Adrian photographed that too. He moved to the digital time clock. Used CEO access codes, pulled Vernon's records. Clock in, 11 p.m. Clock out, 6 a.m., 7 hours, standard. But Adrian had watched Vernon arrive at 9:15 tonight. Staff said he was always first in, last out. He checked door badge swipes. Vernon's actual times, 9 p.m. entry, 8:30 a.m. exit, 11.5 hours worked, 7 hours paid, 4.5 hours stolen, every night. Adrian calculated fast. 1 year of this pattern, over 1,000 hours unpaid. At 15 per hour, that was $15,000 stolen from one man annually. His hands shook. Footsteps. Adrian logged out fast. Vernon appeared, unsurprised. "Just grabbing water," Adrian said, pointing at the cooler. Vernon nodded slowly. Eyes flicked to the dark computer screen, then to Adrian. "Uh-huh. He knows I was looking." Vernon opened his locker. The blue notebook was visible briefly before he tucked it into his jacket. "Vernon," Adrian said carefully. "That notebook. What's in it?" Vernon's hand froze on the locker. "Nothing important, just keeping track." "Track of what?" Vernon closed the locker, locked it, expression blank. "You've been here one night. Wisdom I learned the hard way. Some things you're better off not knowing." He left. Adrian stood there, understanding flooding through him. Vernon was documenting everything, building evidence, waiting for someone to care enough to look. And Adrian had just found the first pieces. Tomorrow night he'd find more. He'd keep digging until he had everything, until he could burn this system down and rebuild it right. Vernon Hayes had waited long enough. Night 3, 1:15 a.m., Adrian watched Vernon climb an 8-foot ladder to replace a burned-out chandelier bulb. Not security work, not even close. Vernon stretched to reach the fixture. The ladder wobbled. Adrian's instinct kicked in. He was across the lobby, hands steadying the base. "Whoa! Easy!" Vernon glanced down, surprised. "You don't have to." "Neither do you, man. This is maintenance's job." Vernon finished the bulb, climbed down. "Maintenance is one guy, 9 to 5. Light goes out at night? That's whoever's here." He gestured around the empty lobby. "Tonight, that's me." "What if you'd fallen?" Vernon's smile was tired. "Then I'd fill out my own incident report." He paused. "Actually, no. Miss Crawford doesn't like incident reports. Creates liability issues." Something cold slithered down Adrian's spine. "What do you mean?" But Vernon was already walking away, radio crackling with another demand. Night 4, 3:30 a.m. Adrian found Vernon in the break room during what should have been his meal break. Vernon sat hunched over the table, and Adrian's trained eye caught what Vernon tried to hide, a pill bottle. Vernon swallowing 4 tablets at once. Vernon noticed Adrian and quickly pocketed the bottle, but his hands were shaking. "Back pain?" Vernon offered, unprompted. "Old injury from the service." "The Marines?" "Yeah." Pride threaded through his voice. "2 tours, Iraq, long time ago." Adrian grabbed water from the fridge, set it in front of Vernon without comment. Vernon nodded thanks, drank. "You should report it," Adrian said carefully. "If you're injured on the job—" "I'm not!" Vernon cut him off, but without heat. "This is from before. VA handles it." Except Adrian had seen Vernon perfectly fine 3 hours ago, before hauling 50-pound luggage up 4 flights because the service elevator was temporarily out. Before crawling under a kitchen sink to fix a leak that maintenance would get to on Monday. This wasn't an old injury flaring up. This was a new injury Vernon couldn't afford to acknowledge. "Vernon," Adrian started, then stopped. He couldn't push too hard, couldn't risk suspicion. Vernon met his eyes. Something passed between them. Understanding, maybe. Sadness? Definitely. "You've got a kind heart," Vernon said quietly. "But kind hearts don't change how things work here. They just make you hurt more when you realize you can't fix it." Night 4. 4:15 a.m. Adrian sat in his car after shift, running searches on his phone. Vernon Hayes, age 48, Marines, honorably discharged, no criminal record. He found Vernon's Facebook page. Profile picture, Vernon in uniform, arms around a teenage boy in a wheelchair and an elderly woman with silver hair. The boy's smile was wide, genuine. Caption, "My world, my reason. Everything I do is for them." Adrian clicked through photos. Found one from 3 years ago. Vernon in a suit, standing at Grandview Plaza's entrance. Caption, "Excited for the new Assistant Security Supervisor position. Moving up." Assistant Security Supervisor. Adrian checked the current org chart. Director of Security, Michael Foster. Assistant Director, James Wilson. Night Supervisors, none listed. Vernon wasn't supervision. He wasn't even regular security. He was doing work that didn't exist in any official capacity. What had happened between that proud photo and now? Night 5, 11:50 p.m. The answer started revealing itself when Adrian arrived for his shift and found the lobby in controlled chaos. A drunk guest, easily 220 pounds, reeking of whiskey, had the day receptionist, Sarah, backed against the wall. She was crying, terrified, as the man shouted about a charge on his credit card. Vernon appeared from nowhere, moving with combat-trained speed. "Sir, I need you to step back." "Who the hell are you?" "Security! Step back from the desk, please." The drunk man swung, clumsy, telegraphed, but vicious. Vernon sidestepped, redirected, had the man's arm behind his back in 3 moves. Professional, controlled, minimum force necessary. "Call the police," Vernon told Sarah calmly, even as the drunk struggled and swore. Adrian had already dialed. Police arrived in 6 minutes, took statements, removed the guest. Sarah hugged Vernon, sobbing thanks. Vernon patted her shoulder awkwardly, sent her home early. 20 minutes later, Diane Crawford descended from her office. "Vernon, my office now." Adrian watched them disappear into the staff area. The door didn't close fully, thin walls, angry voice carrying. "What part of avoid confrontation do you not understand?" Diane's voice cut like glass. "Miss Crawford, he was assaulting Sarah. You could have de-escalated verbally. Instead, you put your hands on a guest, a paying guest. He swung at me first, and now we have a potential lawsuit. Do you understand what this costs me? The paperwork? The liability insurance increase?" Silence. Then Vernon, "I was protecting an employee. You were creating a problem, and here's how we solve it. No incident report. The guest was drunk. You helped him to his room, end of story. No police report filed with my name on it. Are we clear? Miss Crawford, the police already—" "I'll handle the police report. I'm asking you, are we clear?" More silence. Adrian leaned closer, barely breathing. "If I file an incident report," Vernon's voice was steady but quiet, "it goes on record that I was injured in the line of duty. Workers' compensation applies." "Injured?" Diane's laugh was sharp. "You look fine to me. He connected with my ribs. I felt something crack. Then you should be more careful." "But Vernon, let me be crystal clear. If you file any workers' comp claim, any incident report, any paperwork that suggests negligence on my part or this hotel's part, your employment will be terminated. Effective immediately. Insubordination. Refusal to follow direct orders. I'll make sure you never work hospitality again." Adrian's hands clenched into fists. "I have a son," Vernon said, and Adrian heard the crack in his voice. First time Vernon's professional mask had truly broken. "He's 16. Cerebral palsy. The treatment costs $800 a month. My insurance through this job is the only way he gets his medication, his physical therapy. Then I suggest you make the right choice." Footsteps. Vernon emerged, face composed but eyes dead. He saw Adrian standing nearby. Adrian hadn't even tried to hide that he'd heard, and something flickered across Vernon's expression. Not shame, defeat. Vernon walked past without a word, pulled out that blue notebook with shaking hands, wrote something before tucking it away and returning to rounds. Adrian stood frozen. Every instinct screamed at him to storm into Diane's office, to expose himself, to fire her on the spot. But he couldn't. Not yet. Because if Vernon's pattern held true, this wasn't isolated. This was a system. And systems needed more than one data point to dismantle. Night 6, 4:20 a.m. Adrian waited until Vernon took his break. Through the break room window, he watched. Vernon sat alone, opened his lunch container. Rice and vegetables again, portions small, ration food, not choice. Vernon ate slowly, mechanically, checking his phone between bites. Probably a message from his son. Then Vernon did something that broke Adrian's heart. He pulled out that blue notebook. The angle was right this time. Adrian could see Vernon writing, handwriting cramped but meticulous. Night 1089, guest assault. Protected Sarah. Diane threatened termination if I report. 2 ribs broken, left side. Can't afford doctor. Can't afford to lose insurance. Jordan needs meds. Mom needs her facility. I stay quiet. Night 1089. Vernon had been documenting this, every night, every abuse, every moment of exploitation, for nearly 3 years straight. 1089 nights of evidence, of survival, of hoping someone would eventually care enough to look. Vernon closed the notebook, finished his meal in 4 more bites, wrapped the remaining rice and vegetables carefully, stored them in the fridge. Not for later, for someone at home who needed them more. Adrian had to step outside, had to breathe, had to stand in the cold pre-dawn air and let the fury and grief wash through him. Vernon wasn't just being exploited, he was being systematically destroyed piece by piece, and he was documenting it all because some part of him still believed in justice, still believed someone would eventually see him. Adrian pulled out his phone, dialed his attorney's personal number, didn't care that it was 4:30 in the morning. "I need you at Grandview Plaza Hotel tomorrow. Bring everything. We're going to war." Night 6. Later. Before dawn, Adrian used his CEO access to enter Diane's locked office. Turned on her computer, tried the password, failed again. Then he saw it, a sticky note partially hidden under her desk organizer. Revenue 2024. He was in. He navigated to her email archive, searched Vernon Hayes incident. 6 files appeared. Workplace injuries, all marked resolved, no claim filed, with notes. Employee agreed to handle privately. 6 injuries in 18 months, all covered up. Adrian's vision blurred with rage, but he kept searching, found what he needed, downloaded everything, screenshots, evidence. Tomorrow, Diane Crawford would present her success story to the board. Tomorrow, Adrian would show them what success really cost. Night 8, 2:15 a.m. Adrian had CEO-level access to everything, every system, every file, every email server, but he'd needed to wait, needed to build the full picture before deploying that nuclear option. Now, sitting at the reception desk while Vernon handled a maintenance call on the 3rd floor, Adrian logged into the administrative portal using credentials that bypassed every security measure. He navigated to Diane Crawford's email archives, started with a simple search. Vernon Hayes promotion, 3 results. The first was from May 3 years ago. Subject, Vernon Hayes, security supervisor promotion. The email chain started with Regional Manager Thomas Wheeler. Diane, Vernon Hayes has been recommended by multiple department heads for assistant security supervisor. His performance reviews are exemplary. Former Marine leadership experience, respected by staff. I'm approving his promotion pending your sign-off. $26 per hour, full benefits, leadership track. Let me know. Adrian's pulse quickened. He scrolled to Diane's response. His hand started trembling before he finished the first sentence. Tom, I appreciate the recommendation, but I have concerns about Hayes for a supervisory role. He's too soft, too helpful, spends more time assisting other departments than focusing on security priorities. Additionally, I don't believe he projects the image we want for leadership at Grandview Plaza. Our guests expect a certain professional appearance in management. Black veterans, especially those with potential PTSD markers, don't fit our upscale brand. They're better suited for overnight positions where guest interaction is minimal. I recommend keeping Hayes in his current night guard role, where he performs adequately, and promoting Mitchell instead. Mitchell has the polish and presence we need for daytime supervision. Adrian had to read it twice. She'd written it down, actually typed out her racism and hit send. He screenshot the email, hands shaking so badly he nearly dropped the phone. He kept digging. Found another email from 2 years ago. Subject, Workers' Comp Strategy, Night Staff. HR Team. Going forward, any workers' compensation requests from night security should be flagged for denial under pre-existing condition clauses. Hayes and Rodriguez both have military service records. Use that. Document any injury as likely service-related, not workplace incident. This protects our insurance rates and limits liability exposure. If they push back, remind them that workers' comp fraud investigations can result in termination and criminal charges. They'll back down. Adrian's vision blurred. She'd created a systematic policy to deny injured veterans their legal rights. He found a third email dated 2 months ago. Subject, Q4 bonus achievement. Confidential, senior leadership, pleased to report we've exceeded our cost reduction targets for night operations. By consolidating security, valet, and maintenance functions into existing security staff with no additional compensation, we've reduced night shift operational costs by 43%. This puts me on track for the $85,000 performance bonus. Note, Hayes requested pay increase last month. Denied. He's already cost-efficient at his current rate. Why fix what isn't broken? Cost-efficient. That's what she called a human being working 3 jobs for the price of 1. Adrian sat back, the evidence burning in his phone. 3 emails. Irrefutable proof of racial discrimination in promotion decisions, systematic workers' compensation fraud, wage theft and labor violations, personal financial motivation for exploitation. This wasn't just a bad manager. This was calculated, documented, sustained abuse of power. The break room door opened. Vernon emerged, spotted Adrian at the desk, started over. Adrian quickly closed the browser, but not before Vernon caught the expression on his face. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." Adrian wanted to tell him everything, wanted to show him the emails, show him that his documentation, his 1,089 nights of evidence, was about to mean something. But not yet. Not here. Not with Diane still in her office upstairs. Not with the full plan incomplete. "Yeah," Adrian managed. "Just long night." Vernon studied him for a moment, then nodded slowly. "They add up, don't they? Long nights. How many have you had, Vernon? Long nights?" Vernon's smile was sad. "Lost count a while ago. Lost count a while ago." He headed off on his rounds, and Adrian sat alone with the weight of what he knew. Tomorrow morning, Diane Crawford had a board of directors meeting. She was scheduled to present her Q4 success story, the cost savings that had earned her $85,000 in bonuses. She was going to stand in front of the board and brag about efficiency gains, about how she'd optimized the night shift, about how profitable exploitation could be. Adrian pulled out his phone, called his attorney again. "Change of plans. I need you there at 9 a.m. Board meeting. Bring the legal team. All of them." "Adrian, what did you find?" He looked toward where Vernon had disappeared, thought about 1,089 nights of silent documentation, thought about a man choosing between his ribs and his son's medication. "Everything," Adrian said quietly. "I found everything." 9 a.m., board conference room. The room was designed for power. Mahogany table, leather chairs, windows overlooking the city. 12 board members sat with cooling coffee. Diane Crawford stood at the screen, confident in a navy suit. "Good morning. I'm pleased to present Q4's operational achievements for Grandview Plaza." First slide, night operations efficiency plus 43% cost reduction. "Through strategic workforce optimization, we've reduced night shift expenditures by nearly half while maintaining service standards." The door opened. Adrian walked in wearing a full suit. Every person stood, confusion spreading. He was supposed to be traveling. This was Diane's routine update. "Sit down," Adrian said quietly. Authority that made people obey. "Diane, keep presenting. I want the board to hear your success story." Diane's face paled, then flushed. "Mr. Thompson, I wasn't expecting—" "I know. Continue." She clicked ahead. "Workforce optimization. We've consolidated security, valet, and maintenance during night shifts, reducing headcount from 8 to 2 while improving response times." "By consolidated," Adrian interrupted, voice cold, "you mean you forced 2 guards to do the work of 8, without additional compensation, correct?" Dead silence. Diane's jaw worked. "We cross-trained staff, yes or no? Did you make one man do 4 jobs and pay him for 1? Security assists with other duties as needed, for 11.5 hours while paid for 7. That's wage theft." Adrian walked to the console, connected his laptop. "Let me show you real numbers." He pulled up Vernon's time records. Badge in, 9 p.m., badge out, 8:30 a.m., paid, 7 hours. Vernon Hayes, security guard, works 11.5 hours, paid 7 every night, 3 years. That's 1,460 hours yearly of stolen labor. At 15 per hour, $21,900 in wage theft per year. 1 employee. Gasps. Diane's face drained. "That's not the worst part." Adrian switched to screenshots. "Board members, I'll read an email. Diane wrote this 3 years ago." He projected it. The room read in silence, then erupted, cursing, disgust, stone-faced shock. Adrian read aloud. "Black veterans, especially those with potential PTSD markers, don't fit our upscale brand. Diane, remember writing this?" Diane's mouth opened, closed. "That's out of context." "What context makes racism acceptable? I'll wait." Silence. Second email. 2 years ago. Diane instructs HR to deny workers' comp from night security by falsely claiming injuries are service-related, not workplace. She targets military veterans specifically. Susan Chen, board member and former prosecutor, stood. "That's federal fraud. More." Third email. Diane received $85,000 in bonuses for cost savings. Those savings, stolen wages, and denied medical care, she profited from exploitation. Board Chair Robert Williams looked at Diane with disgust. Is this true? You wrote these? Diane's composure shattered. The bonus structure rewards efficiency. I was doing my job. Managers make tough choices. Tough choices? Adrian's voice cut. Vernon Hayes has 2 broken ribs now, from protecting our employee from assault 5 nights ago. You ordered him not to report it. Threatened termination if he filed workers' comp. He has a 16-year-old son with cerebral palsy needing $800 monthly in medication. Vernon chose between his broken bones and his son's medication. That's not tough choices, Diane. That's torture. The room erupted. Board members demanding answers, looking at Diane with horror. Robert stood. Diane Crawford, you're terminated immediately. Security will escort you out. Expect calls from our attorneys and federal prosecutors. You can't. I have rights. You have the right to counsel. Call 1. Robert nodded at Adrian. 2 day-shift guards entered. Diane looked at Adrian, hatred and fear mixing. You've destroyed your own company. When this goes public, Adrian said quietly, people will know we fixed it, that we chose people over profit. Guards escorted her out. Adrian stood at the table, hands braced on mahogany. I went undercover 10 nights as a receptionist, watched Vernon Hayes be exploited, injured, dehumanized, watched our system destroy a good man. I did it because an anonymous employee begged me to look, to see what we'd become when nobody watched. He straightened. We need systemic changes, real ones. But first, I need Vernon here. He pulled out his phone, dialed Vernon's number from HR files. Vernon, Adrian Thompson, I need you at the 15th floor conference room right now. Pause. Then Vernon's confused voice. Sir, is everything okay? Everything, Adrian said, looking at nodding board members, is about to be. 10 minutes later, Vernon entered wearing his security uniform, still exhausted from the night shift 2 hours ago. He stopped in the doorway, seeing the full board, seeing Adrian at the head of the table. His face showed confusion, then fear. Mr. Thompson, did I do something wrong? Adrian walked around the table, stopped in front of Vernon, not above him, beside him. Vernon Hayes, you did everything right. We did everything wrong, and I'm here to fix it. Vernon's eyes widened as Adrian gestured to the chair beside his own. Sit, please. You deserve to know what just happened, and what's about to happen next. Vernon sat, hands trembling, looking at 12 board members staring at him with expressions he'd never seen before. Respect. Vernon, Adrian began. 3 years ago, you were supposed to be promoted to assistant security supervisor. Someone blocked that promotion. You're about to find out who and why, and then we're going to fix it. He pulled up Diane's email on the screen. Vernon read it, his face crumpled. 3 years of pain, confusion, wondering what he'd done wrong, all answered in one racist paragraph. And for the first time in 1,089 nights, Vernon Hayes stopped being invisible. 10:30 a.m., Adrian's office. Vernon Hayes stood in the doorway wearing his security uniform, exhausted from a night shift that ended 2 hours ago. Adrian had removed his suit jacket, rolled up his sleeves. He gestured to the chair beside his desk, not across, equals. Vernon, sit, please. Vernon sat stiffly, hands clasped. Sir, if this is about the incident, it's not, well it is, but not the way you think. Adrian slid an envelope across. Open it. Vernon's hands trembled, opening the envelope. Inside, a check. He stared at the number, blinked, stared again. $340,000. Back pay for 3 years of stolen wages. Compensation for 6 unreported injuries. Pain and suffering, and a portion of what Diane earned in bonuses from exploiting you. Vernon's eyes filled with tears. I can't. Yes, you can. You earned every cent. You were owed $22 per hour, paid $15, 60 hours weekly, sometimes more, 3 years, plus medical expenses you paid because you were illegally denied workers' comp. Adrian paused. Vernon, I know about your son, your mother, the choice you made 5 nights ago between your ribs and Jordan's medication. Vernon's face crumpled. The professional mask shattered. He covered his face, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Adrian sat quiet, respectful. Let Vernon feel it. 3 years of suppressed pain flooding out. When Vernon looked up, eyes red but clear, Adrian slid another document across. 3 years ago, you were recommended for assistant security supervisor. Regional approved it. Diane blocked it. She wrote, I'm quoting, "Black veterans don't fit our upscale brand." Vernon flinched. I'm correcting that now. 3 years late. Adrian tapped the document. Director of Security and Guest Safety. 85,000 salary, full benefits, leadership team. You'll oversee security for all 12 properties, develop training programs, help us build the culture we should have had. Vernon stared at the offer. I'm just a night guard, no college degree, I'm not. You have something better. Integrity, leadership. 3 years you've trained every guard here. They already see you as leader. You protected employees at personal cost, documented abuse hoping someone would care, survived a system designed to break you, never compromised who you are. Adrian's voice softened. Vernon, you're exactly who we need. The title just finally matches what you've been doing. Vernon's hands shook, holding the letter. My son, he can get treatment now. My mama, her facility, I can... Voice breaking. I can sleep. Yes, finally sleep. Vernon wiped eyes. Why? Why go undercover? You're the CEO. Adrian pulled a photograph from his drawer, himself at 22 in Porter uniform. 20 years ago, I was you. Exploited, invisible, desperate for someone to see me as human. I built this swearing I'd be different. Protect people like us. He set down the photo. But I got comfortable. Stopped seeing what happened when I wasn't looking. You paid the price for my blindness. I'm sorry, Vernon. Vernon looked at young Adrian, then at the CEO. You couldn't have known. I should have. That's on me. But I know now. We fix it. Adrian turned his laptop screen. Company-wide changes. Effective today. 1. Witness Protection Hotline. Third-party investigation, 0 retaliation. 2. Mandatory incident reporting. Any injury documented, automatic workers' comp. 3. Living wage audit. Positions reviewed, wages adjusted for. Promotion equity review. Past denials examined for bias. 5. Vernon's Law. No multiple roles without additional pay. Vernon's eyes widened. You named a policy after me? You earned it. Vernon, you'll oversee implementation for security. You know exploitation. You'll make sure it never happens again. You want me teaching executives? I want you changing culture. You survived the worst of us. Now help us build the best. Adrian stood, extended his hand. For your son, for everyone like you, will you? Vernon stood slowly, looking at check, letter, document, then took Adrian's hand, grip firm despite trembling. For my son, Vernon said quietly, and everyone who comes after. So nobody writes 1,089 nights hoping someone cares. Adrian pulled Vernon's old security badge from his drawer, placed it between them. Throw away the old one. That man doesn't exist. Vernon removed the badge from his uniform, stared at it. Security guard Vernon Hayes, then set it down. Adrian handed him new badge. Director Vernon Hayes, Security and Guest Safety. Vernon traced the words, tears falling. My son's gonna see this. He's gonna know his dad. Voice broke. He's gonna know I didn't quit. He's gonna know you won, Vernon. You both won. Vernon nodded, unable to speak, clutching the badge like a lifeline. Outside the windows, the city stretched vast and indifferent. But in that moment, in that room, 2 men who'd been broken by systems they couldn't control stood together. One who'd survived, one who'd finally opened his eyes. And together they began to build something different, something better, something that saw people as human first. 3 years late, but finally right. Vernon looked at the check again, at the offer letter, at the new badge. Then he looked at Adrian with an expression that mixed gratitude, disbelief, and something else, hope. When do I start? Adrian smiled. You already did, 3 years ago. We're just finally paying you what you're worth. Vernon laughed through tears. Then I better get to work. After you sleep, Vernon's first order as director, mandatory 8 hours rest before your first official day. Vernon smiled. Genuine this time, not professional mask. Yes, sir. It's Adrian now. We're partners in this. Vernon extended his hand again. This time, when they shook, it wasn't employee to boss. It was equal to equal. Survivor to witness. 2 men who'd decided that justice, though late, was still worth fighting for. 3 months later, 7 a.m. The Grandview Plaza lobby gleamed in morning light. Vernon Hayes stood near reception in a charcoal suit. Director uniform, tailored and professional, leading morning briefing with his security team. The team had grown. 3 new guards stood alongside originals. Proper staffing, living wages, respect. "Remember," Vernon said, voice carrying authority earned through survival, not title alone, "your well-being comes first. You see something unsafe, report it immediately. You feel overworked, tell me. That's not suggestion, that's policy." A young black woman, recently hired, raised her hand tentatively. "Sir, what if management pushes back?" Vernon smiled, genuine this time. "No performance, no mask." "Then you come to me and I go to them. That's what this badge means." He tapped the director nameplate on his suit. "I protect you the way someone should have protected me. Clear?" Nods all around. The team dispersed to posts, and Vernon checked his tablet, reviewing incident reports, all properly filed now, all resulting in appropriate action. The break room had been renovated. Comfortable chairs replaced old mismatched ones, fully stocked fridge, working microwave, coffee maker that didn't require percussive maintenance. Sign on wall. Rest area, you deserve it. Rita, the night cleaner who'd sent that anonymous email, appeared beside Vernon. At 60, she moved slower but with head held higher. She wore a new badge, too. Night operations supervisor. "Morning, Vernon," she said warmly. "Saw the new safety protocols you implemented for third shift. Team's grateful." "We take care of each other now," Vernon replied. "Should have been that way from start." Rita touched his arm gently. "You made it that way. Don't forget that." She headed to a meeting. She had meetings now, voice in decisions, seat at tables that used to exclude her, and Vernon stood alone in the lobby for a moment, just breathing. No radio crackling with impossible demands, no Diane Crawford's cold voice, no choosing between pain and survival. Just peace. The elevator opened. A teenage boy in wheelchair rolled out, pushed by an elderly woman with kind eyes and silver hair. Vernon's entire face transformed. "Jordan! Mama! What are you doing here?" His son, 16, bright-eyed, wearing Grandview Plaza visitor badge, grinned. "Wanted to see where you work, Dad. The real version." Vernon knelt beside the wheelchair, eye level with his son. "You're supposed to be at physical therapy." "Did it early. Dr. Martinez said I'm improving. New treatment's working." Jordan looked around the lobby with wonder. "Dad, you have an office here?" "We have an office." Vernon stood, began guiding them toward elevators. "Come on, I'll show you." Oh. In Vernon's office, modest but professional, windows overlooking city, Jordan wheeled up to the desk. He touched the nameplate. Director Vernon Hayes, Security and Guest Safety. "Director," Jordan whispered, tracing letters. "Dad, you're like a superhero, but real." Vernon's grandmother, his mother, though Alzheimer's made her forget most days, had moment of clarity. She looked at Vernon in his suit, in his office, and tears filled her eyes. "Vernon, baby," she said softly. "You look just like your father in that suit. He'd be so proud of what you've become." Vernon knelt beside her chair, took her hand. "Mama, I'm proud of you, for raising me to never quit, for teaching me what real strength looks like." She touched his face, and for just a moment, she was fully present. "You didn't just survive, baby. You won." Jordan reached out, and Vernon took his hand, too. 3 generations, connected in that office, representing everything Vernon had fought for. "We won," Vernon corrected, looking at his son. "We made it, buddy." Adrian appeared in doorway, knocked softly. "Sorry to interrupt. Vernon got a minute?" Vernon stood. "Jordan, Mama, this is Mr. Thompson, my friend, and my boss." Adrian entered, shook hands with Vernon's family. To Jordan, "Your dad's the best thing that happened to this company. We're lucky to have him." Jordan beamed. "I know, he's the strongest person I've ever met." Adrian looked at Vernon, something passing between them. Understanding, respect, shared history of survival. "He is," Adrian agreed. "Strongest person I've ever met, too." Later, Vernon walked his family out, watched them drive away, Jordan waving through window, grandmother dozing peacefully. Vernon stood in lobby, same lobby where he'd once bled and suffered and documented his own destruction. But that man was gone. This man, director, father, survivor, was something new, something whole. He pulled out his phone, opened Notes app, typed, "Night 1, new beginning, no more counting survival, time to count victories." He smiled, pocketed the phone, and headed back to work. Not as furniture. as a leader. 6 months later, Vernon Hayes walked out of Grandview Plaza at 6 p.m. sharp. Briefcase in hand, no more midnight shifts, no more broken ribs for a paycheck. His son waited in the van, healthy now, smiling, homework done. His mother dozed peacefully in back, safe, cared for, loved. Vernon looked back at the hotel one last time, the place that almost broke him, the place he now runs. "Good day, Dad?" Vernon smiled. "The best day, Jordan. The absolute best." What changed in 6 months? Vernon leads security for all 12 hotels, $85,000 annually. His son gets proper treatment. His mother lives in premium care. And Vernon? 8 hours of real sleep every night. Adrian transformed every property he owned. Staff stopped fleeing. Turnover plummeted from 65% to 11%. Other chains copied his model. Several states drafted legislation inspired by this case. Diane, terminated, sued by 8 former employees, settled quietly. Federal prosecutors continue investigating. That anonymous email? Rita sent it. The 60-year-old cleaner. She's supervising operations now, helping others find their voice. 46 workers recovered stolen wages. Over $1 million returned. Half a dozen major chains implemented Vernon's law. Hundreds of employees finally felt safe reporting injuries. But here's what matters most. In Vernon's office, that blue notebook rests in a glass case, open to the final page. His son wrote the last entry. Night 1. Dad doesn't need this anymore. He won. We won. Jordan. The truth is simple. Vernon documented his nightmare for 3 years straight. Adrian investigated for 10 days to crack it wide open. One man kept evidence. Another man used it. Together, they proved good people can still triumph. But 3 years is too damn long to wait for justice. You shouldn't have to wait at all. Ever been told to just deal with it at your job? Know someone grinding 2 shifts just to survive? Stayed silent because you needed health coverage? This story is yours. Share it. Tag the worker in your life who never gets credit. Let them know they matter. Comment respect if you believe workers deserve safety, honest wages, and basic humanity. Protect those who protect us. Notice the unnoticed, because waiting 3 years for someone to care, that's 2 years and 364 days too long.